Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Walk Show podcast, where we explore the walk of life. This is your host, Walker Neer. As we continue to reach new milestones with the Walk Show, I just want to thank you again for all your support. As I've mentioned before, we've been listened to all over the United States as well as in 40 countries around the world. I just think it's really exciting to be able to share the stories that we do with folks, again, from literally everywhere on the planet. It really does matter to have you guys share the episodes and tell your friends and family about it. Again, I don't make any money, at least as of yet, with the walk shows, so the marketing budget is, shall we say, limited. So the word of mouth really does go a long way and really does mean a lot. So I really appreciate that. This week we have a very special guest, a dear friend of mine. Audre and I have had some wonderful times together, and she is just one of my absolute favorite people in the whole world. Audre has been a dog mom for many years to some of my favorite pups, who I've talked about in All the Dogs I've Loved Before, which is an episode early on in the walk show, so you're welcome to go check that out. But yeah, in 2018, Audre and her husband decided to take a pretty significant leap and actually adopted a baby. Audre is a very driven person who's invested an enormous amount of time, money, and passion into her career. Well, late in 2019, so not quite a year into being a mom, Audre decided that at the very least she was going to be suspending her career for the time being so that she can be a full-time mom with her son. I wanted to talk to Audre about what the adoption process looked like, what it's like to be a new mom, and then, how it's been going since she's gone full-time mommy. Of course, we also share some stories, from our shenanigans together as well. I couldn't be more excited to have Audre on the show. As always, the music for today's episode is provided by Misha Zarin, so thank you, Misha, for providing the music. And guys, if you like the music you're hearing from Misha, which I don't know how you couldn't, I really encourage you to go check out his SoundCloud. We've got the link to that in the show notes on every episode. And you can always also email me, Walker at the Walk Show Podcast, and I'd be happy to send you links or anything like that. But Misha really puts a lot of work into the music, and I personally just absolutely love it. So again, thank you so much, Misha. And without further ado, let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Walk Show podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, Audre. How you doing?
Hey, good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I definitely refer to you on my show quite a bit. Typically as my friends who now live in Kansas City. It's kind of like if we assume for a moment that I was famous, right, and that this show is just this huge deal, this is kind of like a reveal moment, So
Yeah.
But for the dozens of people who are invested right now, anyway. But yeah, so Audre, I have known you, man, I don't know how long. It's been an exceptionally long time.
Yeah. Probably
maybe
like
15 years.
15, I was going to say.
Yeah, it's been a hot one. So I've known you through it for a long time, and I think it's our friend. I think Matt Ziegler is our common connection, where we originally the person, and he was on the show, I don't know, a few weeks ago. But anyway, so I wanted to have you on as you're one of my favorite people, and I like to talk to my favorite people, so that's enjoyable. But you also are a person who owns, no offense to many other dogs, but some of my favorite dogs that I've ever known, which are, go ahead.
She was like one of your first podcasts, like not the first, but like one of the first ones that I listened to. Hazelnut got a shout out.
Correct. Yeah. And that is the Basset Hounds. So you've had Hazelnut currently, and then back in the day, when we used to hang out before you moved to Kansas City, you had Molasses.
Yep.
So Hazelnut and Molasses are two of the silliest creatures that I've ever encountered. How much does Hazelnut weigh? Just ballpark.
So she's lost some weight. And she's probably 70 pounds. Now, she is a part Euro Basset, and they are a little bit bigger. So she's maybe 2 or 3 pounds overweight for her breed.
Okay. And she's how tall, you'd say?
Oh, like 4 inches.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So just not 5'4"
Like
or
I will
3'4",
send you
just
pictures.
4.
You can put them in the show notes.
Okay. So so we'll start there. So how did you come to be a Basset Hound owner? Did you grow up with Basset Hounds or?
Yeah, I did. So I had a Basset. I mean, probably I've had Basset since I was like 6.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a pause, when I was like going to college and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
as my first Basset was Sugar, and then there was Molasses, and then Hazelnut. Like all like spices.
Right. Sweet spices.
Yeah, sweet like food ingredients. So yeah.
Have you ever owned any other kind of dog? I guess you have Crinkles.
Yeah, I Crinkle since she was a Shar-Pei mixed
Okay.
with I don't know what, but
Wait a minute. Is Crink still around?
no, she passed away. She was 16 though. She had
Really?
yeah.
I had no idea.
Oh, really?
Oh my god. Horrible moment
Really?
for me, right? Yeah, I didn't know. I knew
Oh,
about
yeah.
Twinkie the cat, but I mean that's old news.
Yeah.
Twinkie was old news for the last 30 years of her life. My god.
Oh, Twinkie. Yeah. Yeah. That cat.
Twinkie was in the civil rights movement. So
Dude, she was the White Walker. It's like that cat's never gonna fucking die.
Correct. Yeah. But yeah, well, I didn't know. Well, I mean, it sounds like it's something that's not super fresh because I didn't.
Yeah, it was like it was in just no, it was in December. It was
Okay.
time. Like it was time. Like she
Sure.
had a long life. She was 16, and it super sucked. But yeah. So now it's just Hazelnut.
I see.
I thought about getting a puppy, like for 1 minute, and then I was like, that's a terrible idea. What am I thinking?
Sure.
Like a Basset puppy, they're super adorable, but
Whew.
they're a lot.
One of the greatest days of my life would be when you and your husband Josh, another great friend of mine, but who you guys allowed me to come along with you to pick up Hazelnut whenever you purchased her when she was a puppy.
Yeah.
Which I talked about a little bit on that episode you referred to earlier. To All the Dogs I've Loved Before is the name of that episode for anyone curious. But yeah, you let me go out with you, and there was like a pen with when I say pen, I mean like a yard, like a fenced area with like, I don't know, 6 or 8 Basset Hound puppies that all can't even, they step on their ears every time they step.
Yep.
Oh my God, so insane.
They're the cutest.
So insane. And then I remember because you guys rented an Airbnb, and I went back to your place, to the Airbnb, and you had a few people over. I mean, maybe 10 or I don't know, something like that. And I definitely just laid on the floor with the dog most of the evening. And people were like, you really need to get your own dog, man. This is weird. And I'm like, why don't you just leave me alone right now? Maybe this is me and Hazelnut's time.
Yeah. So that was like her size as a puppy is like the size of her head right now.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she was super tiny. I have photos of that day still, and she is the tiniest, cutest little. It's insane. Those wrinkles and those paws. It just goes on for days. And the ears. Oh, those ears. But so Molasses was actually my first Basset love. And Molasses actually liked me a lot more than Hazy does. I mean, Hazy's cool, but Hazy's kind of like, she's kind of a diva. Like, she's willing to be over you pretty quickly,
Like, she knows she's cute. She's like, whatevs.
Right. Whereas now Molasses had an attitude, but Molasses was more bossy. Right. And I'm willing to follow orders. So, we got along fine. So anyway, well, so Basset Hounds, absolutely love them. Some of my favorite dogs ever, and especially the two that you've had, which are the two that I've really had the most time around. But they're great. Um, but so recently, though, you and Josh had decided that you were going to adopt not a puppy, but a baby, like an actual
Yeah.
child.
Go from fur baby to real baby.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so now we have sweet little baby Thomas that is
Yep.
in the family.
Yep.
So kind of, I mean, you know, I've known, I grew up with kids who were adopted and those sorts of things. So it's not that I've never known anyone that was adopted or anything like that, but I don't, I don't know what that looks like at all from the side of the people trying to get the kids. So kind of, what's that process like? How long did it start before you actually got Thomas?
Yeah. So Josh and I started talking about adoption um, 7 years ago now, it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were in Springfield, and decided that was the route that we were going to go to have a family, through adoption, and
Mm-hmm.
decided to move to Kansas City because it's a more diverse community than Springfield, and we were open to any race of baby, and we just wanted a community where it wasn't just a lot of white people, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, no, for sure.
mostly what Springfield is. So
Yeah, yep.
so anyway, so we moved up here, got situated with a house and job, and hooked up with an adoption agency up here. And then it took about a year after being with that agency that we got the call. And I mean, you just never know. Like, it could be a week, it could be a year, it could be like 2 years, 3 years. You just never know, like, when you're going to get a call and be like, oh, you're matched. So, I mean, let me back up. Like, before that, you have to do tons of paperwork. You have to go through a home study. There's a lot of vetting that happens, just to make sure that you're decent people to be able to adopt a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, we were with the agency for a year. It was December 14th. Josh and I are in Costco. We're planning like this huge Christmas festivities. We had like $400 worth of groceries and booze in our cart because we were going to have all the family together. And I'm like searching for cranberry juice in Costco. Like, I have no idea where Costco keeps freaking cranberry juice. And Josh is like going one way, I'm going another way. And then he's like runs towards me and he's motioning me into this other aisle. I'm like, well, this is super weird. He's on the phone. And he's like, the agency's on the phone and we've been matched. And this baby is due in like 2 days. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what? And like, what? And so it was the longest checkout at Costco in my entire life. Like, we decided to buy all this fucking food, which I don't know why. We should have just abandoned the cart. But we like checking out and we like are loading up the Jeep, and we were like, what is happening? Like, we don't have a nursery. Like, we don't have anything because we like, some people do a nursery and all this, but I just like didn't want to look at it. Like, it's like, well,
Sure.
we'll just like deal with that when it happens.
Right.
But I was thinking it'd be like more than 2 days. I was like, holy fuck. And so we call we get like load up the groceries, get in the Jeep, call the agency back, and they're like, oh yeah, like baby, like due dates in 2 days. Birth mom doesn't want to meet you, and gives us like the lowdown or whatever. It's like, do you guys want to go ahead? And I was like, we were like, yeah, okay, here we
Right.
go. 2 days. So we
Right.
like go to Walmart, buy all this stuff, like get a nursery put together in 2 days. Like, thank God we have a bunch of awesome friends up here that helped us clear out a guest room and make a nursery. And then Thomas was like, he was a week late, which that was like the longest week of my life. And
Quick interruption for the listeners. That's because he has my exact birthday. So
all
a little bit
right,
of little bit of providence in there.
He
Go on. Go
he was
on.
holding out just for you, so that way he could have the same birthday as you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. He told me that when he arrived. Yeah. Yeah, so and also in Missouri, like, it's not fine like, the birth mom has 48 hours after birth to change her mind, so she could say, "You know what? I've had the baby, I've changed my mind, and I'm gonna parent," which is, that's great. It would just be a lot of heartache for us, but,
Yeah.
whatever she decided would be okay. I mean, because we have an open adoption. I talk to Thomas's birth mom weekly, and I send pictures
Still
of
to
all
this
of
day.
the. What's that?
Still to this day, you talk to
Yeah,
her week.
still to this day. So like very close with her. Um, yeah, but it's a bit nerve wracking because you're like, well, I don't know, like, are we gonna take home a baby? Are we not gonna take home a baby? Like, you just don't know. So anyway, so it was like a super long weekend. Yeah, he arrived. He was awesome. He's like the cutest baby ever. Of course, I think that. I think he could be a little baby model. So.
I mean, he has the haircut of a 50-year-old man, which really goes a long way into developing the cuteness, because you can put him in grown-up looking clothes. Now, of course, they have to be baby size, and he just totally sells it. You're like it looks like it could be an adult person where you took a picture with that Snapchat filter that makes them look like a baby again. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like, it could be that.
He's just got like so much hair. Like, he was just blessed with like tons of hair.
To kind of back up a moment into the actual process of the whole thing. So, you mentioned home study. So what is home study? What does that look like?
So that's where, well, the agency will go through the like 100-page document that you send in, which is all your background, and then you have to answer a bunch of questions about your life and your beliefs and what you think parenting looks like. And so they read through all that, they come in, and then they ask you some more follow-up questions about what you wrote, like what your references may have put in their letters. And then they just like walk through your house, and do you have smoke detectors in all the in all the rooms, and do you have, fire extinguisher, and if you have guns, are they locked in safes,
So some really basic kind of just like, is your household equipped for this? But then also a more kind of philosophical, what kind of person or kind of parent might be, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. And so, what are the different, I guess, because obviously you mentioned that you're in, it's an open adoption, and you still are in contact with Thomas's mom to this day. But what are the different scenarios that you can find yourself in adoption? Because I mean, aren't there scenarios where, like, maybe something, and I'm not trying to be dark or anything here, but like maybe something has happened to the mom where she's not medically well enough to have the baby or something, or is maybe, incarcerated, or, you know what I mean? Like, are there scenarios like that? And did you have an option to pick? Oh, we don't want this scenario, we do want this scenario, or what does that even look like? Does that make sense, I guess, even?
Yeah. So, there are a bunch of different ways that you can go through adoption. You could do foster to adopt. You could do infancy adoption, which is what we did, and we did it domestically. You could do an international adoption. So with, foster to adopt, a lot of those children are in a situation where one of the parents could be incarcerated or, have some kind of drug addiction, have some kind of trauma that's happened to them, and then they get placed into your home. And generally, the states want to keep those children with their biological family. So you're just, taking care of these children while their birth parents kind of figure out their life. And I think that takes a really special person to be able to, bring those kids in that you may or may not ultimately adopt, because they'll go back to your birth family.
Right.
And I'm just not, like, I'm not a strong enough person to be able to do that. I know that about myself. Like, it would just, like, break my heart to take a baby in that would go back to a situation that I may not think is, like, the best for them.
Yeah, well, or honestly, even if it was a situation where you were, like, confident that the kid was going to be okay, like, it's still hard just to. I mean, you've established a really strong bond,
Right.
you know what I mean, and to let that go.
Right. Yeah. So like we knew that. Josh would probably do better at that than I would, but I just knew, like, that's just not. I just don't think that I could do that emotionally. So we didn't go that route. And then internationally, like, I was kind of like, well, I could go either way, domestic, international. But Josh felt pretty strongly about staying, in the States, and we actually stayed pretty close to, where we live. Yeah, because he's like, there's just so many kids here in the U.S. that need good homes, so let's just stay within the States. And I was like, all right. Like, I didn't feel strongly about it either way, so that's what we did. And most adoptions now are open. Like, you really can't have a closed adoption. Like, maybe if you do internationally, because if you adopt through an orphanage, then it's more of a closed adoption because you don't know who those birth parents are. But here in the States, almost all infant adoptions are you have to be okay with an open adoption, and studies have shown that that's better for the kid.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I found it really interesting the way you guys have approached that with Thomas. I mean, obviously the relationship that you already spoke to with the mom, but also just like, Thomas's birthday is, like we just said, it's in December. So you celebrate that, but then you're also kind of celebrating, like, his adoption or
Right.
Something along. Please elaborate on that, but something in the summertime as well.
Yep. So we adopted him in July, and so we'll do, adoption day. Some people call it family day, some semantics, whatever. Yeah. So it's like, here's your day of birth, and then here's the day that we were, like, legally a family 6 months later. So we'll celebrate that, which is pretty good for him because you get screwed, as you know, having a birthday so close to Christmas. So
100%.
We'll do something in the summertime. So,
well, and here's the deal, and this is going to sound incredibly petty on my part, but this is how I thought as a child about that Christmas birthday, because my birthday is December 22nd, what we're talking about. So it's 3 days before Christmas. Here's the truth: is people do not maintain an annual budget for Walker's birthday, right? So what happens is we get to holiday time, and I'm just gonna make up some numbers. Let's say they normally would spend $50 on my birthday, right? And then let's say they would spend another $50 on Christmas. But because birthday and Christmas are together, and they're not maintaining these really strict accounting budgets or something. Well, Walks gets 75. You know what I'm saying? Whereas everyone else I know is getting 100, right? And I'm all about the Benjamins, as you know. So
please tell the story of didn't you get a basketball one year?
it actually wasn't even that cool. It was a red Foursquare rubber ball, like one of those red bouncy balls that you play Foursquare with. Yeah, I'll tell that story. So I was probably 5 or 6 years old. I don't know, somewhere in that age range, and I had asked for that for my birthday or Christmas or whatever. And so, again, to show how lumped together this all gets, birthday and Christmas presents get put under the Christmas tree, right? Because that's just the present hole, you know. I'm so entitled and privileged. I'm so entitled and privileged. Anyway, God, I'm so insufferable. Anyway, so the way that this is distinguished, there's birthday wrapping paper and there's Christmas wrapping paper, right? And so if it's birthday paper, then I get to open it early, and if it's Christmas, I gotta wait. So that's fine. So we're going through gifts one year, and I find a package that is wrapped half in birthday, half in Christmas. And so I look at it, and I take off the birthday wrapping paper and discover that it's a red Foursquare ball. That's it. It's just it doesn't turn on. It's a ball. Like, it's the whole thing. I got it right. And I'm like, so do I get to play with this now? And they're like, well, no, you see, it's half and half. You'll have to wait to unwrap the other half until Christmas. It's pretty traumatizing for me. And I feel like really probably entitles me to some compensation now later at 36 years old. No, actually, the worst part of it, which this is really the quintessential story of the life of Walker Neer, is that story happens, and I've remembered that forever because it did suck because I really wanted to play with the damn ball and I couldn't. So I bring that story up to my mom sometime in the last decade, and was because everyone else loves it. They all think it's just like you. They think it's so great to see me disappointed at the holiday time. And so I told my mom, I was like, your cruelty to me as a child spreads joy to many others, just so you know. And she was like, what are you talking about? So I told her the story, and she was like, the best part about that story is that we didn't even intend any of that. Like, all that really happened was they ran out of birthday paper, and it wasn't that big of a, it's like, whatever, they're not going to go to the store just to finish wrapping one half of a present, like in the middle of the day or whatever. So they just grabbed other paper and whatever. But then, because when they saw my confusion by this half and half thing, that's when they thought. So it was really me. Like, if I would have just ripped it open, they wouldn't have cared. They didn't actually intend on it being a half and half. But when I went ahead and kind of offered that angle, they just ran with it.
See, you put it out in the universe.
Yeah. So
bad juju out there.
Well, and the point just being that, like, basically when things go wrong, it's typically traced back just old number one here, where it's like, yeah, you totally did that. And I'm like, really liked blaming someone else, though. So if we could just focus on that, I would be happier. Well, so this is a complete departure and very confusing for the audience, but they're used to it by now, if they're still around. I've been doing this for a while now. So the reason, something I wanted to talk about that was a minor detail of your story, but that wasn't really about the adoption itself, but that was what you were doing when you did, when you got the call about Thomas and you were out shopping for food because you were going to throw some festive party thing, which is where we have spent the most of our time together, as you putting on such events. Not only are you a basset hound owner and a lovely mother, also a terrific cook. And so you've had me around for many fantastic meals. However, one in particular needs to be immortalized on the podcast. Do you know which one I'm referring to?
Oh, yeah. I feel like there's a Dexter moment coming up.
That is accurate. Um, so yeah, so you were gonna cook lobster, which I had never had, and you were a little uncomfortable with because you were gonna get live lobster from the store, right?
Right. It was
And
a
you
Julia Child's recipe. I forget the name of the recipe now, but
okay.
I was doing, Julia and Julie.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, so you were gonna get the live lobster, and then we're supposed to bring it home, and then you know kill it.
Right.
I'm uncomfortable even saying it, which leads to another problem shortly here in this story. But yeah, and then make the meal with it or whatever. And so I think your arrangement was that you would be happy to procure and prepare and cook and whatever, but you weren't willing to kill it. I had to do that. Is that right?
Right. So you went with me to the store to
Right. Right.
procure said lobster that's live.
Yeah.
And we're in your truck, and this damn lobster is bouncing around in its box,
Oh
in the
man.
back, in the
Oh man.
back. And we're like, oh shit, what have we done? And Josh is still at work.
Right. Right.
And we bring the lobster back, and we're like, all right, this motherfucker's sitting out in the garage.
Yeah.
We're not boiling this bastard alive. That's not how this is going down.
No. Well, and the thing is that I didn't think it would matter because a lobster, frankly, is like a underwater insect. Basically,
Right.
it's like a huge underwater insect, and so it
Right.
was like, I mean, if I saw a spider, like I kill the spider, zero thoughts, zero thoughts.
Right.
Like I'm not about that life with the insects, and so I thought that that's how I would feel about the lobster too. Um,
It's not Sebastian,
it's not, but it kind of it kind of is still like it's not. I mean, it didn't sing or anything cool. That would have been really bad if it would have done like a Little Mermaid thing with us. But anyway, we so so I said I think what will help us get through this is if we set up what we will call a kill room, similar to the TV show Dexter.
Right.
Which, if no one has seen Dexter, what we're talking about. So Dexter, the TV show, he's like a serial killer who only kills other bad people. So he doesn't like prey on innocent people at all. So it's kind of like a good guy serial killer, which is a strange premise. But anyway, so whenever he has a bad guy victim, he will like set up a room and he'll like saran wrap the whole thing and basically or lay down plastic everywhere. So there's no evidence. And then he will like set up like pictures around them of like their victims, and he gives them some drug so they pass out, and then they wake up and they're like tied down to a table, and there's pictures of all these people that they've hurt, and then he's like, now you know why you're here, you son of a bitch, and then does them in, and end of the show. So I thought that we could do a similar thing with the lobster, which we did. We didn't dedicate a whole room of the home to it because the lobster's not big enough to warrant that, nor are we actually worried about forensics because it's not illegal. But yeah, man, I feel really dark telling this story, maybe for the first time. It's so dark. Anyway, it's true though, folks, and that's what we're about here. We're about honesty. And none of this is sensationalized. It's all accurate.
Yeah, it's real news. It's real news.
So we get the cutting board out and put saran wrap over it. And then we took some photos from the home and placed them around the cutting board. Now it turns out the lobster's never met any of the people in the photos, but it's a lobster. It probably doesn't know, right? And the thing is, like you said the thing earlier, like, we had read that, like, oh, you just boil some water and throw them in there and then they cook.
Right.
And it's like, that's a little too much. Like, it seems too slow and cruel,
right.
And we're not actually trying to make the thing suffer at all. It's,
right.
We're trying to eat it. It's supposed to be food. So we looked up, like, well, instead what you can do is you can just take a knife and you basically just drive the blade down, like, right behind its head. and it will sever the nerves and, you know, its spine or whatever. And I'm people who know things about animals probably are like, what are you talking about? It doesn't have that. Whatever. You get it. You get it.
PETA's going to call you, like, after you publish this.
Walk out and I just have buckets of fake blood thrown on me everywhere I go from now on.
Right.
So anyway, so we have the whole room set up, and it's like, all right, let's go get the serial killer lobster now, and, you know, set the world right.
Yeah.
So we bring it in and we set it down, and it turns out that also, not similar to a spider that you can kill with zero effort, lobster has a pretty thick shell, so it's not super easy to kill it with the knife. It's not super easy to drive the knife through it. Like, you really have to put your back into it, you know? And I was not, I tried, and it like twitched or something. I couldn't do it. I was out. I was immediately out. The one job I had was to help kill the lobster. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we had it all set up. We had the kill room all set up, and Josh comes home. He's like, "What the fuck is going on?" I was like, "We made a kill room for you. Here's your knife. Please."
You're Dexter.
Yeah, you're Dexter. Surprise.
We were supposed to be done before he got home. He was supposed to show up, and the food was supposed to be cooking. It was supposed to be well underway.
Yeah, that did not happen.
He wasn't supposed to see any of that. No. But then, yeah, Josh demonstrated why some people question my masculinity sometimes, and immediately killed the lobster without any hesitation, and it was not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
While I stood across the room and watched timidly. Anyway, that's definitely my favorite dining story ever. It's so ridiculous. And I love that even though neither of us actually had the balls to kill the thing, it was pretty good that we created a Dexter setting for it. Like, who is creating a Dexter kill room for the lobster?
That was the most memorable New Year's Eve. Like, one of the most memorable New Year's Eve that I've had.
It was good. It was good times. And we did eventually eat, and it was delicious food too. So it worked out in that way also. But yeah, so if you ever need me to help you kill something, probably ask someone else. It's really where we're at. I mean, I found in my house now, I have a shed out in the backyard, and I opened it one day to get my mower out, and a little baby possum looked out at me.
Oh no!
I was like, I don't want to deal with that. So I didn't. I just grabbed the mower and backed out, and then mowed the yard, and I left the door open.
You're like, please run away. Please run away.
Correct. And then I went and put the mower back up, but I didn't look at all in the shed again. I just put it up and closed the door. And then I went and got my hair cut that day. And my hairdresser was like, I told her the story, and she was like, I mean, if you really like need someone to help you, like, I guess I could come over and like look in your shed.
Oh, damn.
I know. And I was like, you know what? I got it. Like, it's fine. It's fine. So I came home and put pants on, which is not a common thing for me. And then I went out in the shed, and I actually did turn over everywhere I could where it could be hiding, and it was not there. So I think it did leave on its own.
Yeah. Well,
since that time, I've secured the shed so nothing can get in, and have never seen any evidence since then. So,
dude, I hate possums. Did I tell you the story where Crinkles caught one in a house I lived in at one time?
No, I don't think so.
Dude, that was the worst. So I am, I'm living in a trailer at this time in my life. It was a very sad time of my life. And before Josh. And I come into the kitchen, and Crinkle's like growling at something. And then I like jump up on the countertop, and she's got a possum by its tail, like in the kitchen. She's like swinging it around, like, "Rrr, rrr," and I was like,
No,
oh, fuck, what?
no,
Yeah,
yeah. It
what?
can't be in the house. It can't be in the house. Of all the places the faucet can be, one of them is not in the house.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, no, this is not
Right.
how I want to start this day.
Yeah, or in my life, because I might not make it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Possums be dangerous.
yeah,
Yeah, though there's some raccoons that live. There's a wooded area around my house, not like in my yard, but not too far. And one night I went out on my front porch, and I looked at the end of the porch, and I saw something kind of glowing, and so I turned my phone flashlight and shine it over there, and it's two little baby raccoons sitting at the top step of my porch. And then I see the mom like cruise on by behind them, and I was just like, nope, going back inside right now. Like, I don't need any business with a mama raccoon and all
right.
this. But then for several weeks after that, I'm like afraid of a home invasion, except not by people, just by the raccoon. Like I come inside and I'm like, you in here, raccoon?
All right.
Because I might just have to move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't know what to do. I guess I could call my hairdresser. She could come help me out.
She's gonna exterminate the place for you.
Yeah. Which, to be clear, my hairdresser's not like an overly like hardened person or something. She's a very normal person. She's just not soft like me. So, anywho, so that, like I said, crazy departure from what we were talking about, but I had to tell the Dexter Kilroom story, and I'm glad you shared the story with Crinkles having the possum indoors, because that is, that's terrifying. That's 10 out of 10 things I don't want right there.
Yeah.
Is a possum in my house. Even with a dog, I don't care. All of you outside.
Yeah.
All of you outside.
Yeah.
So you have Thomas. Obviously, the mom doesn't decide to take him back after 48 hours.
Right. Yep.
And then you officially adopt him 6-7 months later in July.
Yep.
And so, but for that first, I guess 9-10 months or so that you guys had Thomas, you were working full time.
Right. So I did take 12 weeks of maternity leave, which was awesome for me because I wasn't like physically recovering from having a baby. I just got to go in like full-time mom mode and
sure
hang out with Thomas and do things. I mean, it was, that was a terrible winter. It was like snowed every day and like ice all the time. So we just hung out inside. Yeah. So I went back in March and like almost immediately decided that was like, I did not want to work and have a baby. Like I felt like we worked so hard to adopt Thomas that I didn't want to miss this time with him. And so we were trying to figure out like, how could I be a stay-at-home mom and leave work? And so we came up with a plan. And then in December, I quit my job. Now I'm stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, well, so I mean, and it's not something that's to be taken lightly, though, because it's not like you just had like a job that you got so you could get a check or something. Like you were a pretty accomplished person in your career, and that was something you took really seriously. You did accounting, and like you had worked really hard to like get your CPA licensing or degree. I'm not sure. I don't know what it's
so
certification.
I did. no, you're so nice. I was like totally trying to downplay all that. I did.
Oh no.
I got my MBA. I got my CPA, and honestly, I was like, no, we'll adopt. We'll, have a nanny. I had a controller role for an international company, and I was like, well, I'll keep this role, and it's gonna be great. We're gonna have this baby and like this fabulous life, and
Right.
do this job, and all the things. And at the time, like I so before I got Thomas, I had the opportunity to like fly to India and go spend some time in Bangalore, and check out some of the things that this company was doing and try to implement that back here in the US. And great opportunities, but I was having to talk to people in a time zone that was 11 hours or so different from us. And
Oh
then
wow.
our parent company, is in Australia. And then we also had a sister company in China. So I was starting to get on to some more international calls. And so doing calls at like 9, 10 o'clock at night is not great with having a baby. And I was like, yeah, this is, it was fine when we didn't have Thomas, but
Sure.
to try and be present both at work and with a baby was just kind of like too much. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean, how hard was it to go back to work after that 12 weeks of just you and Thomas, you know? I mean, obviously Josh is there too, but I mean, you
yeah,
not having to leave, you know.
yeah, no, it was like I cried
Yeah,
like every day. I was like, oh my God, like this is not what I expected at all. Like had I
right.
thought, this is how I was gonna feel, like I would have done things like we would have planned our life a little bit differently for me to stay at home. But
Sure.
yeah, like I mean, it's just people tell you like it'll totally change your life, and you're like, yeah, whatever, whatever, okay. And then it happens, you're like, oh yeah, no, it totally changed our lives in so many ways that we didn't think it would. I mean, all good, all good. So
Sure. Sure. I mean, that's the thing is that obviously I'm, don't have kids and have for a long time balked at that notion. Um, although to be just perfectly candid and frank about it, I also just always had worked pretty terrible jobs most of my life. And when I say terrible, I just mean very low paying. And honestly, I was like, I can barely pay for myself. I
yeah,
have no idea how I would also pay for a kid. So I was like a huge part, and I didn't realize that. And not that I'm like, super wealthy or something now, but I now earn more than I used to by a significant amount.
right,
Um, and I'm still not like, you know, I don't have like a goal of having a kid or something like that. But if I met the right person and it worked out, that's what they wanted, I would be much more open to considering it because it's like, especially if, they have an income too, it's like, oh, maybe this is not insane that we could afford this. You know what I mean? Like that I could
right,
provide a reasonable life for the kid. I mean, not that they have to take golf lessons and, go to a private school or something, but just, just at least there will be consistent food available and stuff. You know what I mean?
right. Well, I mean, it's crazy, dude. Like you figure it out. If someone had told me, before we had Thomas that I would quit my job, like I'd be
Right.
like, you're like, there's no way. Like there's no way Josh and I could afford to do that. There's no way. And then somehow you just like figure it out. Like you figure out how to make it work.
Right. Well, so and that's what I was going to say though, is that your sentiment, about it being a thing that is only a net positive is a very common sentiment. I don't know anyone of the people I know, and I don't know that many people, but of the people I know, I don't know anyone who's had a kid that's like, yeah, I'd take that back if I could. That's not the high point for me. Like it's never, no one ever says that. Now, of course, there's to some extent you can't say that in society, But if anyone was going to say it to someone, they would tell me, because people will tell me all sorts of crazy shit, right?
Yeah.
So if someone was going to confide that they really didn't like it that much, I feel like I would have received that bit of information. And I've never, I mean, it's never been even kind of like that. Everyone's always like, yeah, it's the greatest thing that ever happened. It's, you know.
It's definitely not all sunshine and roses, though. I will tell you that. Like today,
Sure.
there were tears today from me. I mean, from both Thomas and me. And
Right.
I text Josh, who works from home, not just during COVID, but like all the time works from home. And so I'm texting Josh, I need hugs, which came out, I need Higs, like Higs. And Josh is like, hugs? I'm like, don't fuck with me, man. Like, I'm having a fucking bad day. I just need a goddamn hug. Like, I need you to come down here and hug me because your son, because it's always your son when he's like losing his fucking mind. I was like, your son is like losing his shit on me. Like, I
Right.
need some hugs.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point that you bring up. And it's a point that actually translates to a lot of other conversations that I've had on this podcast, which is that everything is nuanced. Nothing is this black and white thing where, like, so on one level, it's black and white that you are absolutely happy that you have Thomas and wouldn't trade that for anything, right? Like, that is just
Right.
true. There is no nuance to that truth.
Right.
Except that if you zoom in a little bit, though, like you just said, it doesn't mean that every single moment of it is just you're just giggling with glee because you never thought it would be this much fun to have a 2-year-old pull on your hair. Not a 2-year-old, he's not that old yet, but, you know, maybe pull on your hair or punch you or whatever they do. But I think that that's important, and that's one of the reasons that I asked you, a while back, if you would be willing to come and share your insights on this. I have another friend who has a baby that her and her husband had tried for a really long time to have a baby, and they eventually, got pregnant and were able to, and she could not be more thrilled to be a mom. Like, she wanted to be a mom for a long time, and then when she had that opportunity, she took it, and she couldn't be more excited. So in no way is she not into being a mom. But, there's all these women that will be like, oh, being pregnant is so beautiful and whatever. And maybe some of them feel that way. She hated every waking moment of it. She was like, I will never be pregnant again. That was insane. I can't believe that's how it works,
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, again, she loves being a mom. There are days, like, I call her baby MS-13 baby, because her baby is crazy. Like, her baby's beating up other kids, and, like, it might have a razor in its mouth at all times, you know what I mean, to cut up coke and slit necks. I mean, her baby cray. If she listens to this, she'll know what I'm talking about. But anyway, but anyway, so I didn't mean to interrupt with all that. I love that you're sharing that sentiment, because it's important for people to be open about that and be honest about it. Like, it's okay to like being a mom and still have moments where you're like, whoo, child,
Yeah. I don't feel like there's enough of that, honestly.
Right.
Because it's like all the podcasts and all the things on the internet are like, oh, this is the greatest, you just need to like take some deep breaths. And I'm like, lady, you take some deep breaths when your child's fucking biting you and pulling on your goddamn hair, and then come back and talk to me. We'll see how you do, all right?
Yeah, we'll see if your little count to 3 worked.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, damn, I'm gonna have to like do some Bad Boys for Life shit, like some fucking woo-saw, and I don't know what. struggles.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's absolutely true. And you see that in so many things. People want to sell these idealized versions of stuff. And the problem is that it's disingenuous for what it actually looks like. So now when someone else tries to start, they think they're doing something wrong, or something's wrong with them, because that's not the experience they have.
Exactly.
And it doesn't actually help anyone, because it's full of shit. So it's not actually, there's not any, it's diminishing its own value by doing that,
Right.
Well, so you made the decision to stop working, which again is not a decision that you took lightly. You had spent a lot of not just time and energy, but frankly, money
Yeah.
building your career, you know?
Yeah.
So not something to take lightly, but so what's it been like since then? Because it's been what, 4 or 5 months or so now
It's
that you've been.
been, yeah, like what month are we in? We're in April. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I'm like losing track of time. So I didn't realize like stay at home mom time was like preparing me for a fucking pandemic. Like people be like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm like at home with my kid all day. I'm like, bitch, I've been home with my kid since December. Like, don't even talk to me about this. So,
Yeah, I don't have a kid. I'm just a shut in. So
I mean,
I also haven't really changed that much. I mean, I don't see quite as many people as I used to, and I don't got to eat like I used to, but
yeah.
really not a lot else has changed. I buy groceries in more bulk than I used to. Other than that, kind of the same life. Kind of the same life.
Yeah. No, so it's been like December was great to not work. It was kind of like a vacation because I had Thomas's birthday and Christmas. So I was like, oh, I am, have this extended vacation. I have all this time to like get ready for Christmas and do this big party for Thomas's first birthday and all this. And it was great. And then January comes, it's kind of like, oh shit, I don't have a job. I don't have like the same amount of money coming in. What do I need to be doing to make sure Thomas is, developing and
Mm-hmm.
all of the mom things. As my friend says,
Right.
mom's so hard. So it's like, okay, so let's like get active in the community. Let's, do story time at the library, which the nanny was actually she was already doing. She found that, which was great. So, started taking him to story time twice a week, and then through that, like, well, first off, like these moms be super judgy, you know. Like I come in there like, oh, you're the mom. Oh, the nanny was so great, and I was like, I mean, all right, yeah, I'm like the mom. Like, why am I getting fucking judged about coming to story time now? Like, what? Like, what the fuck? Who are you? And and so it took like 2 months at least before someone would like actually talk to me. Otherwise, so Thomas is in the 95th percentile for height and the 90th percentile for weight. Like in just his
Okay.
appointment like last week. So anyway, so we're like doing story time, and these moms are like kind of bitches to me. And he's 15 months. I mean, and at the time we were going, he's like, 12 months. Babies don't know sharing. Like, there's just little bam bams, like running
Right.
around, like hitting other babies. Like, they don't know what's up. And so he's like taking some baby's toy, and this mom gets like super pissed at me. I'm like, dude, like, it's a baby. Like,
Right.
I can't teach babies at this age how to share. I've read like all the books about this. So, all right, like
Right.
don't come
There is
at
no rationalizing with the
yeah,
baby.
yeah,
He
like
doesn't understand.
just tell a baby
Right.
like no, like bad. Like that's about all you can do. And so he took some of his first steps at story time, and I got like super excited, and the lady's like, you mean he's not walking yet? And I'm like, dude, he's like 12. He's like 12 months. Like, and she's like, oh, he's so big. I thought he was like 18 months old because my son's like 18 months. And I was like, well, yeah, no, he's not. So,
And even if he was, maybe not an appropriate way to frame
yeah,
that
like, how
conversation.
about read some books? Like, all babies develop at different stages, like different ages. Like,
Right.
come on now. God. So yeah, so we did story time, and then some of the moms like started to accept me and like told me about some other activities. So there is a like a gym where you can take babies. Well, all kids can go, but babies under 3, you don't have to pay for like open gym time. So they just like go around and they jump on trampolines and do like little foam pits and things like that. So we were doing that, and then we signed up Thomas for swim lessons. So we did that. So I like had a super booked with activities. So we were doing really well, and then COVID hit, and then it's like, meh.
Right.
Now
The
it's
record.
it's like just now to the park. So
Right. But it doesn't sound like you're missing the company of what I'm going to loosely call the other Starbucks moms.
yeah, no.
You may go to Starbucks too. I don't know. I'm very judgy of the Starbucks crowd.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't go to Starbucks.
Nice.
I do wear yoga pants. Like I was like not gonna do the whole yoga pant mom thing.
Super comfy and easy though, right?
Yeah, like when these babies are mobile, like yoga pants and sneakers kind of where it's at. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give in to this.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I just Starbucks, I will never get over the demand that exists for it. Like I live kind of close to a grocery store that has the Starbucks like inside of the grocery store,
Oh yeah.
And go there any weekday, and it's not a drive-through because it's inside the store, and there is legit a line of like 15 to 20 people deep from I don't know how early it starts, 7 a.m. all the way through like 9 a.m. And then it's always that many people, and it's like I just don't believe it's that good.
Yeah.
I just don't believe it's that good.
I'm pretty sure Dave Ramsey would say, "Save your money, don't buy Starbucks."
Yeah, well, or you know what, Dunkin' Donuts gets it too. I'm not you people don't get a pass, or you Panera people. There's no
All right, make your coffee at home, save all your monies.
Or just save your damn time. Who can stand in line for this 20 minutes? Like it would drive me insane.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Nope.
I digress. But anyway, I just assume that all these judgy moms that you talk about are all just like stopping at Starbucks and then heading to wherever, the library or whatever the event is, and then sipping their coffees and being judgy. And
oh yeah, they totally could be. I mean, I would know because I don't like the nicest person to me is this lady who is a nanny of two kids that go to story time. Like she's been the nicest, and she'll like talk to me and hang out. The other's super judge time.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, because I told you about the swimming, our one swim lesson experience.
Please retell. I don't remember that
well. So I signed up Thomas for swim lessons, and there are like 3 other babies in this class, and we go, and it's at the high school gymnasium, like swimming pool up here.
Right.
And so before water babies are water aerobics, and water aerobics are at like 9:30. So the people attending water aerobics at 9:30 are like 60-plus-year-old ladies who do water aerobics, and then they get out and then they just hang out and like watch water babies. Well, Thomas is teething and kind of hating life. And I was like, man, I don't know how this experience is going to go. Like, I'm already apprehensive about it. And we get to the swimming pool, and Thomas is like crying. Like he hates it so bad. So bad he hates it. And he's like crying, which normally we've taken him in the summertime. Loves the pool. Like it's like the best thing. He's all smiles and whatnot. It's just like great, which I thought he would super enjoy swim lessons. No, this is like traumatic for him. He's crying. And everyone's just like, oh, well, just let him get used to the water. Just like bounce him up and down a little bit. It'll be fine. Yeah, like not fine. Like he cries the entire fucking time. And I'm like, oh my God. All right, this has got to be over. So we get out, and all of the old ladies who were watching are now in the locker room, totally fucking naked. just walking around. Just walking around and then decide to tell me how I should raise Thomas. And so this one lady, I'm like sitting on the bench in the locker room trying to change Thomas out of swim shorts into regular clothes because it's like 40 degrees outside. So we have to change out of our wet clothes and
Right.
And this lady is standing next to me totally naked. So she's like orangutan tits and like big silver bush, and like her badge is right at my fucking face, telling me that she thinks Thomas has a fucking sensory disorder and that I should shower with him because then maybe he'd be used to like being splashed in a pool. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? And put some goddamn clothes on. Like, what the fuck? Like, I do not understand. I do not understand.
That is remarkable. So what's fascinating about that is that I now think that it's just a scenario that people who are of a certain age, I don't know if the cutoff is 60, 65, 70, 75, I don't know what the number is, but there's some number where you decide that people who are in a locker room with you no longer have boundaries.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that happens, but I mean, so it's common in like at a gym in the male locker room. See, this is just like, it's just like everyone has this impression. When I say everyone, men, I mean, have an impression that like the men's bathroom is nasty, but the women's bathroom is like all pristine and nice and neat and everything. And I've had plenty of women be like, no, it can be so messed up in there, which just goes to show that it's not a male-female thing. It's just there's nasty people thing.
Right.
Like there's weird people who don't understand boundaries in a space where people are naked, which is weird. It's like we need extra boundaries here because we're all naked and it's not part of some naked club.
Right.
Like we're not nudists or something. We have to change, and this is what the lot we found ourselves in life in here. Anyway, in the male bathroom, dudes, old men almost exclusively, but whatever, will straight up hike a leg up on the counter in front of a sink, hike a leg up, grab a blow dryer, and then just blow dry the balls.
Like nobody wants to see that.
No. If you lived at home and someone walked into your bathroom at home and you were doing that, you should be embarrassed. You should be like, oh God, I should have locked the door. I didn't think anyone would come in here. Certainly not in public. Certainly not in a public venue. But here they are. So we've now learned that also crosses gender boundaries.
Yeah.
Wow.
This does not discriminate. Dude, Thomas had like PTSD from this because then when we went to go do baths, like bath time, it took like 2 weeks for him to not cry during bath time. And prior to swim lessons, he was like fine with it.
He was good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. He's like, where's the old orangutan? Like, gonna come get me.
Right. That's, that's a traumatizing thing for such a young, impressionable mind. You know?
I mean, I was traumatized. We didn't go back. I was like, nope, we're not doing this again. Like, you can keep my money. That was terrible.
Yeah, one time I was at the YMCA and I had gotten in the hot tub, so I was in like swim trunks or whatever. And then coming back into the locker room, I took a shower, but I kept the swim trunks on because I also want to wash the chlorine out of them.
Right.
I don't really need a shower. I didn't work out or something. I just was in the hot tub.
Right.
So I'm not even fully nude, and there is a guy who has brought a washcloth or something into the shower with him. He is fully nude, and he is like one hand behind his back, one hand in front, like sawing the washcloth in his taint area, right? Which I wouldn't have known because I'm not looking at these people while we're in there, except that he says something to me to get my attention, which causes me to look at him, which he does not interrupt his little activity for, right? And then is like, got your Christmas shopping done yet?
What?
Like, hey, motherfucker, how about we don't have that conversation right now? Like, how about any other time besides when you're washing your fucking taint. Like, are you kidding me? How is this not? How? What? It's like when I worked at the call center and I was in the stall taking a shit, and this guy who I worked with had gone up to the sink to wash his hands as I had entered the bathroom and went into the stall. So he saw me go into the stall. But once I'm in there, I have the door closed or whatever, and I'm clearly taking a shit. That's what you do in there, right? And this guy's like, so, hey, Walker, what part of town do you live in?
Oh, God.
And I go, kind of by here. How about we have this conversation when I'm not taking a shit, though? How about that? What the fuck is wrong with you, man? And he was just like, oh, sorry, and then walked out. Like, what? Why did I have to say this? What is wrong with you?
Dude,
but
people have no filter is what I found out while being stay-at-home mom. Every day on walks, every day, somebody tells me how fat my dog is every fucking day.
I mean, she's 4 inches, 70 pounds. So
yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't tell you how fat you are, motherfucker. Like, I don't tell you to like go buy a fucking Peloton and lose some lbs. Like, the fuck. Like my most memorable moment is it's like nice outside, and this lady who is not thin was walking her dog, and she's like, oh, it's so nice out. Looks like your dog is a porch dog. Looks like it's a good thing she's out on a walk. And I'm like, the fuck? A fucking porch dog? But actually, we walk like every day. Like, right. Looks like you need to drink some Slim Fast and shut the fuck up.
Maybe that's what you should start doing is get some like once the pandemic's over and you can actually get out again, go to like the local Y or something and get some flyers for it. Be like, hey, do you have any like promotional things so I can like help promote your gym or whatever? And then when anyone says anything, be like, that's a really good point. And then be like, have you thought about going here? And then just push the flyer in their face. Just like, here you go.
Yeah.
Maybe this would be for you. Kind of a little subtle, not so subtle. But,
exactly. Well, that's the thing. Like I talk big, on a podcast, but when I actually like face to face, I'm just like, okay, moving on.
Yeah. I don't know. I go both ways with that. I mean, I'm not a confrontational person in so much as that, like, I'm not trying to, I don't fight with people or something. Again, I'm afraid of a lobster. So, rubber bands around its claws. So clearly I'm not out here like being tough with people or something, but I don't know. It just depends on the day you catch me. I might just not want to talk to you at all. And so I might just ignore and move on. I might try and come up with something cute for you though. I might do something cute.
Yeah. So our only activity now during the pandemic is to go on walks, and people still, be hating on Hazelnut during this time. I did tell one guy because he's like, oh damn, she a big girl. And I was like, you know what? She's actually on a diet. Like that was what I said. And then I just like walked off because I was like, God damn it. I'm like so done with this shit.
You might try actually a really classic one is that's really fun to do and it works every single time because everyone walks right into it is just to have someone say something inappropriate and then ask them point blank, man, and smile while you do it and kind of chuckle to yourself whimsically like, do you remember when I asked you what I thought about my dog? And then when they're like, no, you're like, yeah, me either. Shut the fuck up about it. And then they just got owned, and that's all there is to it. Like because since you were being so pleasant, they were like, I don't remember that, and they think that they're in on something with you, and then it turns out they were out the whole time, and you showed that to them in their face. So dog shaming is a thing. I didn't know that was a thing. So are people good at least about like keeping their distance from Thomas and stuff during the social distancing? Like they don't try and lean over the stroller or whatever?
Yeah, so they're like super afraid of Thomas because he could be a carrier of the COVID, being a little tiny person. But they like to shame Hazelnut. Some people like to pet. Some people want to pet Hazelnut. Hazelnut saw another basset the other day, and she did not care about social distancing rules and was just like nose to nose, like you're my people.
Yeah, I mean, Hazelnut is one of the most adorable dogs ever, and even though she doesn't like me as well as Molasses did, when I have been there, if I'm there for long enough, eventually she will get on the couch and snuggle with me, basically, which is what I'm looking for all of the time.
Well, it just sucks that like we live up here. I mean, if you saw her every day, she would definitely.
That's true. I was around Molasses, infinite more times than I was.
Like every weekend, probably, I would say.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, any other stories that you have that we haven't covered on the new mom life, especially since you've stopped working and really are just doing this full time?
I mean, I can't think of any. Just all the moms want to have opinions, and all the people want to judge my dog. I was just say, keep your opinions to yourself. Ain't no one want to hear that.
Right? Yeah, no one gives a shit. Yeah, true story. True story. Well, yeah, no, I think it's great. And like I said, I think it's great that you're willing to talk about, what it's like that there's some difficulties with it all, and that it's not all sunshine and roses, whether that be from other people or it just be from dealing with your, teething baby who's not rational,
Right.
Which is crazy because I will admit that to me, Thomas is this pristine experience. Now, I've only been around him a few times, but every time I'm around him, that dude is cool as a fan. Like, he's always chill. He's always just all smiles.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know that I've ever seen him throw a fit at all.
He is a really good baby. He is a really good baby. And like, especially around other people, he's like super good. So then when, he's just around me having a hard time, people are like, no, like, you are totally making this up. Like, Thomas would not do that. And I was like, no, dude, like, for real. I lied. Like, this happened. So
yeah, so me being a baby was the opposite experience, I'm pretty sure, for my mom, where I just was a constant tyrant. And if there was a story about me being calm, people would have been like, really, Tim? I was probably 2 or 3, so I was a lot older than Thomas is now, but one of my favorite stories that my mom's ever told me, which, to be clear, my parents were together until I was like 8 or 9 years old. So I grew up 2-parent household, was around both of my parents all the time. So it's not like I didn't know my dad. You know what I mean? Like, as a baby, like I did. He was there the whole time, whatever. Anyway, we're in line at a grocery store, and just my mom and I. And someone gets in line behind us that we'll describe as looking like a vagrant. Not bathed, not clean clothes, no haircut, all that. And I look over my mom's shoulder, who's like holding me, and I ask him, I go, "Are you my dad?"
Oh, God.
Which my dad was he's groomed and bathed and well dressed, and he didn't look like a vagrant normally to it. Not only is it insulting to my dad, but then my mom is like, "What? No, because who is this guy and how's he going to react to this or whatever?"
Right. Oh, God.
So I do kind of hope that someone that Thomas asked a vagrant person if that's actually who Josh is instead.
Right. Oh, I appreciate, like, he's super smart, but he's already like tricksy. Like, he already like trying to play tricks on you. Yeah, I asked him, like, where's your nose? And he puts his fingers to his mouth, like, every time. He knows exactly, like, where his nose is. He's just like, I performing for you. I'm not your circus clown. Like,
sure. Yeah.
Nope.
Well, maybe once what you need to do is 1 year just do the Christmas birthday combination with no July thing. So that way he knows how good he's really getting. Or I can drum it up a little more than it, more traumatic than it really was for me, and really try and put some fear into him about, like, it could have been this way, Thomas. It could have been this. You appreciate what you have. I petitioned for Christmas or for summer birthday celebrations and never got them. So Anyway, well, Audre, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show. It has been an absolute blast talking with you, as it always has been. You're obviously one of my closest friends, and it's super exciting to see you take the new journey that you're on. Like I said, it's really, and I'm not. This will sound like I'm being overly flattering, and I promise I'm not trying to be that way, but it was really brave to walk away from the career that you had, to spend the time with Thomas that you do now. But I think, and to be clear, I don't say that to shame other people who can't do that, because not everyone is in a position where that's a possibility. But I think that's super cool that when you had that chance, you took it, and I think that you will. I think there's zero chance that it's not in the end the right decision. So good on you for that.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for coming by, and we'll have to do it again sometime. And yeah, we'll catch you later.
All right. Sounds good. See ya.